All right, welcome everyone to Spirit Coffee Talk. I'm Ginette Byro, and with me is Elyse Cathry, and we are missing Lisa Richmond right now, but she will be back again next week. So thank you all so much for joining us. And this week we have urgent messages from Spirit. Now, we don't mean scary by any means, but like urgent. There's a sense of needing to be clear on our perspectives. And that's a lot of what Spirit is bringing through in many different ways that we have been shown, whether it's dream state, meditations, things we're seeing, intuitions that are coming in, because there's so much whirling in 3D right now. Like we were talking a little bit before, 3D is very much a hot pot of all kinds of things, and your perspective is so key on how you navigate it. And that perspective really does also play into whether you're seeing it from a very 3D way or a 5D way. And I do want to say that seeing something from a 5D way isn't ignorance, and it's not spiritually bypassing, but it's being able to look at the bigger picture than the singular 3D narrative. So yeah, so I'm really glad everyone's here to join us in this conversation, because the desire is for it to bring some peace of mind, calm energy. And again, this was really very much guided by our guides. So here we go.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah. I feel like I've had so many people reach out this week and be like, what is going on with this energy? And I think for me and everybody that I've talked to, one of the most confusing things about it is that there's a lot of fear narrative out there, which we'll talk about. But when we hear about, like, on, was it Monday or Tuesday, was 222, which is like a really beautiful kind of manifestation day. There was the new moon on the 20th, which every astrological person that I follow, I don't really know a whole lot about astrology, but every person that I follow, they were talking about the beautiful energy of it, and um the really, beautiful manifestation that comes from it. And it was a Pisces new moon, so like Pisces is uber emotional, which, okay, I felt very emotional, but it was this really like beautiful supportive energy of like creating what we want and all this good stuff. And it felt rough. It felt so, for me, it was kind of like I'm anticipating, which maybe, that was mistake number one, but anticipating this really peaceful, beautiful, kind of flowy new moon, watery new moon, and then it was actually like quite confronting and uncomfortable. And I've kind of felt that throughout the week, right? 222, same thing, this really like beautiful energy, alignments, manifestation, all the goodness. Kind of a crunchy day. There's been a crap ton of solar flares, which I don't know a whole lot about them. I've been getting more into them lately because my dog goes banana sandwich when there's solar flares, which has been always lately. So that's been fun. But I'm noticing a correlation of when her behavior is terrible. It's, oh, look, there's been massive solar flares today. So I've been getting more into understanding them. But it's felt really fast and furious, despite this messaging of it's beautiful, lovely manifestation energy. And like, that's all true and good. And the contrast of like, whew, it's been a week. Physical symptoms like ascension symptoms or energetic symptoms, headachy, tired, not sleeping well, just kind of feeling funky. So I'll just say it's been a weird week for that stuff.
Yeah. I have to say though, I think maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I think this is a common theme, is we are underestimating the magnitude of the effect solar flares have on us. I don't think we give enough credit, because the Pisces moon, for example, the Pisces new moon is very much watery and emotional and dreamy and all of that. But while that's happening, we're also being hammered with the most consistent amount of solar flares that we've had in a long time. Every couple days, we're being hit with either like an M class, which is really big, or X class solar flares. And then those pummel the earth for a while. And then you have to kind of recalibrate from that. And then it's happening again, and it's happening again. And it's like, you can be feeling those energetics of the moon and feeling those dreamy things and those sense of purpose and stuff, but it's like feeling it while you're being pummeled with waves, right? It doesn't mean the dreaminess isn't there, but you're also being pummeled at the same time. So it's hard to fall into that dreamy energy, right? The warm, tropical, lush goodness while you're being hit by waves, right? So we have to try and kind of pull ourselves out of the waves a little bit, realize they're still happening, and then try and redirect into that dreaminess without taking it personally. And so the reason I say that is I think when we're underestimating the effect of the solar flares, we underestimate, we actually not underestimate, we internalize or we take personally the effects that it has on us. Like, why am I feeling crazy? Why am I such a jerk? I'm moody. Why am I ridiculous? I was fine. Like judgment, 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 instead of really like, if you're noticing these triggers within self, being like, are there solar flares today? And we have this beautiful thing called Google that allows us access to know if in fact we are. And when we do that, we actually take that effort to look into it. We can then take off this huge added weight of self-judgment and all of this kind of stuff and be like, okay, wait a minute, there's solar flares. That is a lot of energy. So I'm going to actually take myself less seriously right now. Maybe I'm going to chill out a little bit, watch some Netflix or have a bath and not do. I'm going to not dive into anything spiritual right now because it's not helping me. Or if I do, I'm going to only take on one thing, or, you know, like just rerouting yourself differently when you have the knowledge of something. And I really think we need to acknowledge how big of an impact solar flares have, because we're not done with them. They're continuing, and there's going to be more. But there's, like we were talking about, there's a purpose as to more.
And I think we're seeing too, like more coming out about, there was some, and I'm going to butcher this, but you'll probably remember better than I will. There was something about like, oh, there's this like weird polar vortex thing that's happening at the top of the sun. And like, scientists don't know what that's about. That's not been seen before. And like, oh, it's like burping out this weird energy, and there's this happening, and the solar wind is changing, and like there's all these things that are happening. And again, I'm probably not quoting them correctly, but there's all this weirdness happening that is kind of starting to be discussed as to like, why is this happening, what's going on, and all of that impacts us to a degree. We're so interconnected with the energy of the sun. Plugging the Our Universe Netflix episode or show again, there's a whole episode dedicated to the sun and how integral of a part it plays um, in how we live on Earth and the energy that we receive from it. And I know you spoke, I can't remember which one of the cosmic consciousness circles, about spirit talking about the light and the energy from the sun and the energy of light and how it is intended to support us as we move forward, as things evolve, as like we edge closer, or maybe are already in this like 3D 5D shift that everybody keeps talking about, that we don't know what that looks like or what it feels like, or what, you know, what is to come with that. But that we're in, like, when we look around the world, there's deep breakdown of like almost everything. So it's, there's so much changing, and then it's like, and the way that we are experiencing even interaction with the sun is changing, which is kind of crazy when we think, like, when my cute little human brain is like, what? It's just the sun. Like,
the sun? Yeah. You know, and Spirit was sharing this the other day, how, okay, you know, when you, okay, so sometimes they'll show me pesky spirits as cockroaches, right? They'll give me that symbolism. And so they're like, you know, when you see a cockroach, there's most likely more. So if you see one, then you want to go in and actually look around and clean things up. And so they said with this like increase in solar flares, the burping extra energy of consciousness, essentially, which then permeates our systems and challenges us, or encourages us, again, your perspective, to clear out things, understand things, step up in consciousness. It does it in a way that, like, if we were needing to clear out cockroaches from a house, we're not going to keep everything dark in the house. We're going to flip on some lights. We're going to grab flashlights. We're going to pull things behind, shine a light on it. And when they see the light, they react and they scatter, right? So at the same time, what's happening on our planet right now, with all these burps of solar energy and consciousness is it's shining a light on collective things, like collective of humanity things, but also our internal things rapidly, because we are in a super, super rapid, fast-paced year, this 4th year of these 4 years of transformation. And it's like stuff's picking up, things are speeding up. We know the cycle of how to move through things and clear things up. So spirit's like picking up the pace. And when I say spirit, I actually mean like the galactic collective energy, universal energy, right? It's picking up the pace with the sun's help of like shining these lights on things so that nothing can then settle back in the darkness and be like, my perfect place to hide and fester and grow. It's like, no, we're going to keep pulling shelves and this and shining lights and getting rid of this stuff. So we're feeling bombarded, but we're really cleaning up a lot. And the sun is helping to do that on all layers. Like it's permeating all layers. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I feel really spacey right now.
I saw that
as
come
you're
in.
talking,
I was like, ooh, who's she got with her?
I'm listening. But man, I wish Lisa was here so she could jump in. Miss you, Lisa. I don't remember anything that you were saying. One of the things that was just kind of like in my brain in the moment, and I hadn't thought of this. So there's been so much over the last couple of years, I feel like, around social media and how misinformation and spreading of all this information and creating a lot of discomfort and fear and ickiness, right? Like, venture into comment sections if you dare, sort of thing, because it's like, and what was just kind of coming through in pieces was there's this idea that there's so much ick in social media, which there can be, right? There can be so much fear narrative. And I think, I can't remember if we talked about this or it was just on Spirit Coffee Talk, or if you and I talked about this, but when we can feel our own reserves of resilience running low, I can feel into the fear narrative of, say, TikToks and things like that, all this doomsday stuff. And it creates this panic in my body. And then I'm like, and I start to get stressed out. So when that's happening, I'm like, hey, put it away. Don't engage. Just, change my algorithm so that it's like puppy videos and things that make me laugh, or just like completely disconnect from it for a bit and take a bit of a break. And so yes, that's important. But one of the things that's been interesting to watch is some of the big things happening in the world are only being shared via social media. And so there's this weird, and even part of me is like, I don't want to talk about this because like it's complex, or it's intricate, right? Like we have to use a lot of discernment. We have to use a lot of our own internal compass to say, does this feel good? Is this coming from a valuable source? Anytime I'm getting information, I'm trying to dig into like, where is this coming from? Is this accurate? What are the comments saying? Who is this person that to speak on these things? Where is this coming from? And so we do need to use our discernment to really navigate the ick that's out there. And there's this different way of us communicating that Spirit is saying, like, it's so important because it starts to take some of the power away from the darkness, the little cockroaches hiding in the shadows. It opens up our lines of communication, and we're more in contact with each other than we've ever been. And that's only going to continue. And what they were saying was that part of this happening, like take the train crash in Ohio, right? I've seen so many videos saying like, it's being reported more on now in the news, but a lot of people saying like, this, nobody was talking about this. People in the town didn't even know what was going on until they started seeing it on social media, and then starting to be able to stand up for themselves and their health and what's going on, and asking questions and maybe leaving if they needed to or whatever. And there's this Spirit is saying like, we're watching what you're going to do. We're not abandoning you, as it feels like everything is on fire, literally. and figuratively, we're not we're empowering you to have the information. How do you want to have your life look? How do you want the world to look? That, and even part of me is like, oh, it's tiring, it's exhausting. Like, how much more do we have to fight for? Um, but it's not even about fighting. It's about standing for what feels good for you. Um, in a way that's also good for the collective and good for all of us. And that's where I think it can get a little tricky, when we don't necessarily have a full perspective, and there's balance in this, right? To fall into one camp versus another, it's not about like hatred and frustration, and no, frustration it can be, but it's not about like the hatred and the really negativeness of it. It's about like standing up for the good and standing
Mm-hmm.
up for what's right and standing up for other people and vulnerable situations, and shifting from like fighting and anger and like F this sort of energy that's brewing, and shifting towards like stand up for what you believe in, stand up for what is right, and move ourselves collectively towards this different paradigm that we're working towards, right? It's like you said, the difference between 3D and 5D is not ignoring what's happening, but taking that broader perspective and saying like, what else is this telling me? What else is
Mm-hmm.
happening here? How is this affecting all people, not just me and my little life, but like, how is it affecting everybody? And that is how we create change, not through these like individualistic fights.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of that made sense.
No, it totally does. It absolutely does. And I think that's really worthwhile being said, because as it's triggering us, so as you were talking, they were showing me like many of us are being triggered independently, but that independent triggering has allowed us to clean up and clear out a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we're actually now moving in some ways out of independent triggering back into collective triggering, with the awareness from our independent triggering to then come together as a unit to fix the collective issues.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the beginning of the year for a lot of people was a lot more internalized.
Mm-hmm.
Even like December, January was very internalized, and now we're seeing it very external. But it's like, take all the lessons of what you've learned internally and apply them to the external world right now to help clean up that 3D aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that too, they're saying, really ties into the fact that so much of what we're experiencing on our planet does connect to the alignments of the stars. So we opened talking about astrology.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I had someone ask me before, like, why would you talk about astrology when you're a medium? Just talk to spirit. And my answer to that is like, it's all connected,
Mm-hmm.
right? The alignments of the stars and the planets connect to the timelines and the things occurring here. So they are valid to both our world and the spirit world. And so one of them that's really significant coming into play is on March 7th, we have Saturn moving into Pisces, which is the last sign of the zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
And Saturn does a 30-year cycle. And now that it's coming into Pisces, it's taking the lessons of all of the things it learned through every zodiac into the final one, which is Pisces, which is dreamy, which is desires and emotional. But it is here to complete a giant karmic cycle, right? So individual, but also massively karmic giant cycles right now. So we're coming into this complete new change energy on March 7th that echoes the energy of momentum that started for us individually in February that we were talking about, right? Like, we're like, January's coming and starting, February's going to really kick up and start moving forward. And it has individually, but now we're going to get the karmic train, or sorry, the collective train moving, which is then going to double down our energy moving forward. And we're going to see a lot of plowing forward,
Mm-hmm.
right? To bring these endings or new beginnings into play. So everything that we've learned internally is so that we can play it out in the collective with more ease, more grace, more consciousness right now. And so we need people to be sharing things on social media. We do need our discernment to feel through what is accurate and what's, fear narrative. But the more people that do start to question and actually step into that, the more people that are going to harmonize into the 5D frequency that can feel truth from lies in frequency.
Mhm.
And so then if we bring that back to what Spirit was saying, is that this year is huge on frequency. And so was last year, getting to know what is accurate in resonance and what isn't.
Mhm.
So in that respect, I can say a lot of things are really coming full circle. So I can see why the guides in the higher levels, the angelic realm that I talked about in cosmic consciousness, why they're saying we're here and we're here to help, but we're also not going to do it for you, but we're going to step in where we need, but we are also watching, right? Like we are doing surveillance. We're surveillance. Oh my gosh.
It's alien surveillance. Surveillance.
Surveillance. Yeah, but that's like why they're doing it. So we're in the process right now. So it's kind of like realize how far you've come and keep going. Don't lose track of yourself now that you're seeing all of this chaos whirl in 3D. Rather, root in deeper to who you are and what you can do to help change it, either within your own personal life or maybe in your community, or
Mhm.
what you also share on social media.
Mhm. And change it from a place of moving towards what we want. Like there's this, and I think we've talked about this in past Spirit Coffee Talks, but this idea of like looking at things from the higher perspective. Like I think anger has a place. I think
Mm-hmm.
it can action us and like galvanize us to like move towards something important, or it's a flag for us to say something is wrong here within my experience and I need to shift something.
Mm-hmm.
And acting from it and holding it feeds into the thing in which we don't want. So it's not to say we just love and light everything and turn away and go on our merry ways. We do act, but we act from a place of, like you were saying, collectively, what do I want for not just what I want, but like what do I want for the collective is a better way to say it. What
Mm-hmm.
do I, how can I support people that are not in a privileged position like I am, or that are vulnerable? What can I do to hold and like spread more love and peace and support? How can I, one of the things that I really felt called to last night. I was feeling really off and the dogs were off and I felt really dysregulated. And I was like, I just need to go like lay down for like 10 minutes and just listen to some music and breathe and be in my body, because I felt like I just wanted to scream. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not, I did scream at the dogs. It didn't make it better. Um, and like, that's just not going to help. And
Mm-hmm.
so again, it's like taking accountability for where you're at and what you need to do for yourself in order to recenter and move forward in a really grounded way and take action
Mm-hmm.
from a grounded place, not this like flailing fear, angry, panic energy, because it doesn't help. It's not going to change the outcome in the way that you
Mm-hmm.
want it to. And it's not even going to, from like a human perspective, allow you to think or act in a way that will truly change and facilitate the change that you want to make. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, it can be used as like a starter, but I don't necessarily think acting from it is a helpful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the other interesting piece that came through yesterday, and it was funny because I was like, okay, I just need to like go lay down and like take a minute. And I wasn't trying to meditate or like tune into spirit or anything. I was just like listening to my music and closing my eyes and having a little moment. Oh, my eye. And I don't know what's happening over here right now. I feel
You have so much stuff happening in your room. I feel it too, though, to be honest. I feel it big time while we're talking, and they're giving me more messages. I'm like, I'm just gonna wait till she's done. Like, I feel like literally there are counsels coming through both of us, and we're trying to just be clear and concise, but getting lost in our own words. I'm right there with you.
Glitching out. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Shit, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Meditation yesterday. So I was just like needing a mo for myself. And all these things started coming through. And one of the big ones that I was like, huh, that's interesting. Um, and I actually had to like wake up and write it down. And I almost texted it to you, but then I was like, no, I'll just write it down first in case more comes. But it was the sun. And again, from a human perspective, I know very little about the sun. But they were saying that like the sun is fundamentally changing how it energizes and supports Earth in order to support this 3D, 5D shift, whatever's happening. And so these solar flare things are not going to change. But even what they're saying right now is like, but we will change in how we can hold them. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like when you start working out for the first time, or it's been forever, and you like lift some weights and your body is like, what did you just do?
Mm-hmm.
Ow. And you can't move. Like you can barely sit down to pee. And like it feels very uncomfortable and it hurts, right? It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel good. And you have to like help yourself through that. You have to, stretch and foam roll and drink lots of water and have a bath and blah, blah. It's the same thing, but as more time goes on, the more you acclimatize or you
Mm-hmm.
adapt to the experience. So, what they're saying is that it's changing, but so will our bodies. And there's a lot that will come of that just kind of on its own, but that also we need to, again, coming back to this message that we've talked about for so long, like, what do I
Mm-hmm.
need in this moment?
Yeah.
How do I
Yeah.
support myself?
Yeah. I agree. I think that's so on point about like how is your body changing? Because my guides were saying something similar. Because even this morning I was like, I am so achy. I can't keep doing this. Like I'm doing the rolling, I'm doing the dance, I'm doing the exercise, but then I'm doing the rest. And I'm like, there's no other modality. And they're like, just notice how your body is changing. And they warned me about this in the summer. They're like, the way you exert your body, you're going to have to do it differently. And it's all included in this, right? So I think looking to how our bodies are being different now too is a great indicator, especially when you start to notice how your body is adapting
Mm-hmm.
in moments. I think that's really significant. Another point I wanted to bring up that they were talking about is how they are very like spirit right now, that angelic realm that we were talking about. They, as much as they are doing surveillance, uh,
Surveillance.
surveillance um,
Trademark.
from above, they're like, also please note that we are also boots on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that in their own way, whether they're fourth dimension, so not visible to all of those in 3D, or they're coming as kind of like a merge with people that are embodied here, however it is they're doing it, they're also very much in this environment, observing what's happening, not just from above, so that they can get a real timeline idea of what it is, the toll it's taking, the intensity of it, to also act accordingly.
Mm.
So it's not just top down observation of like, oh, it'll be fine, like do this number or do this or whatever. It's like they're being as much a part of it as they can be and influencing or affecting things where they can. Um, so we're not lost. And that's something that we really need to try and shift out of our mindset, is this idea of separation. So many people are starting to recognize, like, where all things are connected and we are a connection of source and spirit. And when our loved ones pass, we're still connected. And that's all very true. We also need to know, though, we are connected to all other beings, not just on our planet. The same way we're connected on our planet, we're also connected through that galactic network. So through our solar system, through our Milky Way galaxy, through the galaxies, is all connected. So we are not alone or abandoned in the way that this programming in our mind makes us think we are. So that's something to ponder too, because I know with the energy coming from the sun, those triggerings, those flares that kind of burst our bubble in one way are trying to help us realize how connected we are to all things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that was something else that came through.
Yeah. And the other piece to note is March 23rd, as I looked at the clock at 2:23 on 2:23.
Interesting.
And it's not even 2:23. That clock is wrong. Anyways, um, I don't remember what the astrological thing is on the 23rd. So again, super helpful information from me. But there's a big thing that
I'll look it
happens in
up.
the skies um, on the 23rd, and it's been talked about. It's been being talked about quite a bit out in the astrological world as like something that only happens every so often, and that in history is linked to like big collective shifts, like some big shifting happening. And I think, in my cute little brain, I was like, cool, February energy is speeding up and things are going to start happening for me and la, 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 la. And yes, that's true. And that's alongside everything else that's going on. And I think for me, it's in my human experience, it's been a disorienting feeling. Um, because you're kind of feeling it all, and all of the like I just keep seeing the visual of like the wheels turning, like spinning, and like somebody's like putting their foot down on the gas faster and faster and faster and faster. But it's like that period before the car takes off, where there's like a lot of smoke and it's really intense, and
Yeah.
there's loud noises, and it's like, oh, we're in that place leading into what comes. And again, it's not like doomsday scary. Oh, it's I don't feel that and no, people aren't talking about that, especially those who are staying within that real like growth 5D frequency. It's not about that. It's all for the good. It's to help us move forward. But as we've talked about, you got to tear down all the mold before you can fix it.
Yeah, you can't just
there's a
paint
lot of
over
mold.
it. Yeah. So the 23rd is when Pluto enters into Aquarius, and this is a huge deal. I was talking to Shannon, our astrologer on Avalon Spirit, and she was like, oh my gosh, you have no idea about March 23rd. So March 23rd, Pluto moves into Aquarius. Pluto is the planet associated with wealth, power, secrets, mystery, death, and underworld journeys. It will carry those themes into the realm of information technology, data, science, systems of power, and communal potency. So the last time that Pluto passed through Aquarius was from 1777 to 1797, which were times that had the French and American revolutions. Moving itself into an air sign will transform our understandings of power of the collective. So think about the messaging Spirit's been saying about taking all the stuff that triggered us internally. Now we're seeing it triggering in the collective. Now we can change the collective. So there's revolution, evolution. We'll witness the value and cost of information, how much people are sharing on social media, what's going on, and maybe even attempt to see democracy in a totally new way. Pluto essentially is a transformation. So that's pretty significant. It says it will linger for about 3 months in 2023. So it's we have a lot of heavy hitting energies of change and transformation on the collective level in March. I just find that so timely.
I'm just looking. And interesting, that coincides. So about 3 months, that'll coincide like day or two with the summer solstice on June 21st.
Oh, interesting. No, that's the equinox.
Or equinox, that's what
Oh, sorry. Wait, you said summer solstice?
I meant whatever the day in June is.
Oh, June. No, June is the solstice. Sorry, I was thinking of the equinox. The equinox, the point of balance in March.
Right.
We have the equinox too, which is right around that time. Interesting. My gosh, this spirit coffee has been like a wild ride.
Chaotic. As per the energy. Sorry, not sorry.
Oh my gosh, it totally is. I mean, if anybody really wonders what conscious channeling or meditation is, it's literally this, where it like comes through at the same time.
So if this has been disjointed, apologies, but we have not been listening when each other has been speaking.
Right?
Yeah, sounds
so
good.
Funny.
And
so
this,
funny.
Let's go this direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we could leave it at that for now.
I think that's probably good.
Yeah, that's probably good. Shut it down. Shut it down. Yeah, thank you all so much for joining, and we hope to bring in more clarity. I am going to be talking about more of these themes and a few others on the podcast on Monday. It's going to be the March energy update. It might be a long one. So yeah, check that out. Also, I mean, check out last week's Spirit Coffee Talk, because we talked about spiritual awakenings, and many have been having these awakenings, maybe multiple, maybe significant ones recently. So if that's you, that may really help you kind of embrace what's happening and kind of jump on the train a little faster with less kind of internalizing and questioning, and more so realizing you're here at the right time doing the things you're doing to be a part of this massive change literally happening right now as it is written in the stars. So pretty impactful time. So
You're
yeah,
doing good. You're doing good.
you're doing great. Gold
Keep
star.
swimming. Just keep
Yeah.
swimming.
All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us, and please do share this and subscribe, and we will see you all next week.